Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show to not report on hot Xbox leaks as soon as they happen.
Actually, we can just get that out of the way real quick. Here it is.
Wow, it's a can.
Yeah, they made it round. What will they think of next?
Maybe they'll publicly announce a half-baked plan to completely change their business arrangements with all their current partners that could run a portion of them completely out of business.
Yep, Unity pulled a real Hall of Famer this week, flipping from indie underdog darling to the most hated capitalist nightmare over the span of just a few days.
The amount of goodwill thrown into a bonfire is kind of impressive, honestly. If you've ever wanted a lesson into how to make your company most hated in an entire industry, Unity has put on an absolute masterclass.
Yeah, and for free. You usually have to pay for that. Sign up for the subscription and then cancel your credit card because they're not going to let you go.
Let's do a recap and roll it back to the before times before Unity made themselves enemy number one. To do that, we have to call on the only staff member that has yet to enter her evil phase, Charlotte.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Lawrence. I am still lawful good.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Okay.
Yeah, for now. It all started last week when Unity Technologies announced a new fee called Runtime. Under the new plan, developers who use Unity's free tier of development services would owe Unity 20 cents per installation once their game hits thresholds of 200,000 downloads and makes $200,000 in revenue. That drops to 1 cent per install for large developers, aka Unity Enterprise clients, whose games brought in 1 million in the past year and have lifetime sales of 1 million or more.
I guess the keyword around all that is install. It's installs instead of sales. A lot of developers pointed out that if their game has a big spike in installs because of a sale, or because they're part of a charity bundle or something, or even being included in something like Game Pass, fees could become astronomical and just completely unaffordable to a small developer. Not
to mention the possibility that the policy could be abused to target developers. Disgruntled gamers could organize mass install campaigns to intentionally bankrupt companies.
Yeah, and they would too. You give them a knife, they're going to use it.
Oh yeah, absolutely they would.
So Unity's not only going to change the terms of your deal, but they're also going to open your bank account to some of the internet's most upset misanthropes. Ooh.
Boy, this did not go over too well, did it, Charlotte?
No, it did not. Reaction from the industry was swift and virtually unanimous, which is rare these days. Everyone was united, pun intended, in decrying the move as a blatant money grab.
Yeah, we'll cover all the spicy clapbacks after this quick word from our spicy sponsor, Soylent. Today's episode of Inside Games is sponsored by Soylent, the world's most perfect food. I love it because it's already saved me tons of time. When I have a particularly busy day, or maybe I sleep in a little more than I should, I have a Soylent latte for breakfast. It's perfect. It's a cup of coffee and a perfectly balanced breakfast, all in a convenient bottle you can grab on your way out the door. Soylent is not only cheap and convenient, it's good for the environment too. And not really in a 1973 Soylent Green the film kind of way. You might remember that in that movie, Soylent Green is made of people. While reducing the population might actually be a pretty effective way of reducing CO2, you'll have to get your cannibalism fixed somewhere else because Soylent is people-free. But the protein in Soylent creates 50% less CO2 than whey protein and 25% less CO2 than pea and brown rice protein. That's why Soylent is the only food company to have the US Grown Sustainable Soy certification. So save time, save money, and save the planet, all while getting perfectly balanced nutrition. It just doesn't get better than that, folks. But wait, it does. The first 500 people to use this link and code InsideGames30 will get 30% off their first subscription. Thank you very much for the support and the extra time you've given me to play Starfield, Soylent.
Hey, thank you for the sponsor, Soylent. All right, last we left the story, indie devs were turning up the heat on Unity for, well, upending their entire lives.
Indie studio Aggro Crab joined many in calling for Unity to just scrap this fee. Their fear was that their next game, Another Crab's Treasure, which is coming to Game Pass next year, could rack up fees that, quote, threaten the stability of our business.
They poetically conclude with, quote, I fucking hate it here.
Indie dev Authogen, who made the puzzle game Confabulation Homestead, sounds cozy, called the announcement insane. They said, quote, this currently won't affect me, but it's crazy to think that if I continue to grow using the software and become very successful, that I could be hit with a massive bill.
They also worried about the possibility of being charged for reinstalls or pirated versions of games.
This isn't just an indie issue either. Bigger devs actually weighed in on this.
Innersloth, which made Among Us, tweeted Tuesday for Unity to, quote, stop it, adding, This would harm not only us, but fellow game studios of all budgets and sizes.
Yeah, and this is one of those internet shitstorms that spills over into real life. Following the backlash, Unity canceled a town hall meeting where CEO John Riccitiello was supposed to talk to staffers over security concerns. They also closed 2 offices in Austin and San Francisco after death threats. Guys, chill.
Unity quickly tried to tamp down the fire. A day after their initial announcement, they issued a second statement after acknowledging confusion and frustration with their new fee policy.
Well, quite an understatement. They claimed that more than 90% of their customers wouldn't be affected by the change, and that the ones affected were devs, quote, who have found a substantial scale in downloads and revenue and have reached both our install and revenue thresholds.
Yeah, so they're trying to argue that, hey, this only applies to the big boys. But they won't tell you who the big boys are, or what really constitutes a boy being big. They just know them when they see them, I guess. And it's not you, don't worry, until it is.
Yeah, Unity reps also gave conflicting information to Axios, telling them initially that if a player installed the game, deleted it, and installed it again, that multiple fees would be charged. They then later said that Unity would only charge for one installation. They also claimed that games offered in charity bundles would be exempt, and that Unity would provide a way for devs to let Unity know if that was the case.
Okay. And they also said that in situations where a game was on something like Game Pass, that the fees would be charged to the distributor. So in that case, Microsoft.
Yeah, Unity also claimed in an FAQ that all the big 3 console makers would pay that fee on behalf of developers.
Okay, good for them to commit to that. It's really fun. It's fun to claim things. Yeah. We're claiming that we're the #1 gaming news show on YouTube. Why not?
And silence, so it must be true.
It doesn't help that Unity will reportedly waive the fee if devs switch to its own ad monetization service.
Mobile Gamer reported that Unity has offered some studios a fee waiver if they switch over to Unity's own Level Play ad platform. They quoted industry consultants that say this move is an attempt to destroy Unity's main competitor in this field, AppLovin.
You son of a bitch, AppLovin. Yeah, and speaking of rage, the focus of a lot of rage has been Unity CEO John Riccitiello, who once tried to make gamers pay for every bullet they would fire in an FPS game way back when he was CEO of EA.
That's a true story. That is not a joke.
What?
Yeah, that's right. He was going to charge people for reloading clips in Battlefield. He is not new to the money-grabbing game. Let me tell you, I believe he gave EA their reputation.
He also did once claim that devs who weren't fully monetizing their games were fucking idiots.
Riccitiello has been such an infamous figure in gaming. He was even the villain in the No More Heroes series. Sorry, he was a villain, but he was in there, parodied.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. He had just a terribly awful run at Electronic Arts where he served as COO from 1997 to 2004, then CEO from 2007 to 2013.
I'm kind of confused that everyone forgot who he was. I don't know, there was that headline about paying for bullets going around, but I want to drive home that he did much more than just suggest that EA charge people for bullets. He basically killed BioWare. He gave BioWare 14 to 16 months to ship Dragon Age 2. And that game wasn't very great and also burned out tons of developers. They lost a lot of their talent in the years after that. So he basically burned them out. He closed Pandemic, who developed the original Star Wars Battlefront in 2009, Skate developers, EA Black Box in 2013, and PopCap Games basically just stopped launching games after he ran EA as CEO. So he has sucked for a long time. He stopped working at EA because the board accepted his resignation for the company's terrible fiscal performance in 2013. He hasn't been a good executive. He sucks. He always has. I guess it was easy when he was at Unity because they had money to burn. We'll get to that in a minute. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. He's way worse than some of these headlines give him credit.
That is correct. But don't worry. There's simply no way Unity can forge ahead with a structure that nearly every living human agrees is a terrible idea. Right, Charlotte?
On Sunday this week, Unity issued an apology for the confusion and angst their announcement caused. They added some standard corporate boilerplate, quote, "We are listening, talking to our team members, community, customers, and partners, and we will be making changes to the policy." They added that they'll have an update in a couple of days, and they thanked us for our honest and critical feedback.
It always feels good to be thanked for my honest and critical feedback, doesn't it? So why is Unity doing this? Well, why does any company do anything evil? The easy answer is money. It's money.
The Unity engine first released in 2005 and was initially designed to make games for Mac OS. Since then, they've added 24 more platforms, including Windows, PlayStation, Xbox, and the Switch. But obviously, that all costs money.
According to GamesIndustry.biz, which looked over all their financial reports, Unity basically burned through a lot of money to acquire market share.
Unity has never had a profitable quarter in its history, and during its 19 years of operations, it's racked up a deficit of $2.6 billion.
And lighting all that money on fire worked. In a report last year, Unity said that more than 230,000 developers made over 750,000 games based on Unity. In 2021, the number of games made with Unity grew 93%.
That's a lot. Holy cow. How is each developer individually averaging like 2 or 3 Unity games? So yeah, there are bigger games though, like Pokemon Go and Hearthstone. They were made with Unity. So are some beloved classics like Cuphead, Subnautica, Hollow Knight, and Return of the Obra Dinn, just to name a few.
Yeah, so their strategy to gain market share, it worked. And now Unity is, of course, doing what every other company will always do in this scenario, which is flipping the money switch. They have to do it at some point.
As managing editor Brendan Sinclair wrote, honestly, I think this new runtime fee makes perfect sense from a mile-high point of view. If you think about Unity as a business where you just turn whichever dials and pull whatever levers will make the numbers go up the most.
Yeah, the drawback, though, he said, it makes no sense at all if you instead think about Unity as a game development tool that game developers should want to use.
Yeah, that's a small problem. And that's the real issue. You can have all the market share in the world, but reputations are priceless. And Unity managed to burn theirs down in an astonishingly short amount of time.
Yeah, and here's a parting shot for everybody. Unity laid off 4% of their workforce, which is hundreds of employees in June 2022. We only learned about that through a leak to Kotaku.
When GamesIndustry.biz asked John Riccitiello about the layoffs, he did what any down-to-earth, totally not evil CEO would do. He compared it to skiing.
All right, he said, quote, "It's a little like skiing. If you don't fall now and then, you're probably not getting better because you're not trying new things to improve. We felt about 4% of what we were working on was not effectively getting us to where we needed to go." So they're off to the side, frozen in the cold. Fuck them.
You don't cut off part of your skis while you're going downhill. That's not how it works.
That's a good point, Charlotte CEO.
I accept the position with gusto.
Geez. So here we are, I guess. It seems clear that they want to leverage a scaling fee on their biggest customers, and they also don't want to announce any public guidelines about that, so everybody's wondering. Like, it makes them a bad bet at this point, right? Because they can just change the deal at any moment and then start leveraging fees on you. So what do y'all think the larger ripple effects of this will be? Even if they walk it back or if they leave it in? What do y'all think?
It definitely seems like they announced it far before it was solidified already. All these kind of like aqueous details about what it means with charity streams or like through a platform like Game Pass. It's just so messy, and it seems like such a blunder because obviously like you have to make money, you have to like figure out a way to monetize, and that's tricky, and usually people get upset when you charge them for things that have been free for a long time. Some companies do it better than others, like Discord with Nitro, some not, like with Twitter possibly talking about charging everybody, Unity now sticking its foot in its mouth. I mean, I don't like to see any like free and widely used tools go away. I can hope that something will fill that space, but that's not something that can happen immediately. I mean, the tools to make games are more democratized and accessible than ever before, but that doesn't necessarily mean that something on the scale of usability can fill that space immediately. So if for some, say this does impact like smaller developers at a large scale, maybe there could be some kind of dip in like delays or getting things out and things that are built in Unity that have to stay in Unity. I don't know. I mean, it's just a bummer to see the monetization done in such a way that it could impact people who are heavy into development or had plans for things to do with the tools available to them.
Yeah, it's super complicated. I think the practical effect, no matter what at this point, is that there will be fewer games that are less refined in the next couple of years. Because either Unity does throw on these fees and people have to switch engines, or people don't trust Unity to not do that eventually. So then they have to invest in other technologies or develop their own. And that bites off a whole thing, because I've been concerned about engine convergence for a long time. Every time another AAA studio switches to Unreal, it scares me a little. And honestly, that was part of the reason I was kind of into Cyberpunk so much, because it was on a proprietary engine. And Starfield's fun. It doesn't crash, so that's cool. I would like more companies to develop and maintain their own tool sets, and then as part of that, and this is where it gets really Pollyanna, to invest in their staff, so their staff don't feel like they have to cultivate a skill set that is marketable across multiple companies, which plays into the Unreal issue. So I don't know. It'd be cool if every game company like hired their people for life, tried to educate them on their internal tech, and took care of them so that they stayed there and just made cool game like Nintendo. Basically, they have killer tools and they're putting out killer games on platforms that no other company could probably manage because they've cultivated that skill level. All right, so it'd be cool. I recognize that every game developer can do that, though, and we're the beneficiaries of that in the end, because studios that need half the staff to make a game because Unity's tools are so strong, we get to play and enjoy those games. So it sucks that the noose is getting constricted there. Just enshittification, right? It's everywhere.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Cory Doctorow coined the term enshittification, and what it is basically businesses learning how to get a bunch of consumers by doing things, giving you services for free. And it's in my opinion, it's not great business. It's actually kind of bad business, because you get used to this thing, you get stuck in it. It's like giving you a taste, like a drug dealer. And then all of a sudden they're like, now we're gonna charge you. And all these people who are using Unity for years and years and years are like, what the fuck? Like, it really throws them off. So I really wish that business practices in general, hey, you know what? Let's just shoot pie in the sky here. Business practices in general would change a little bit, because I don't like this enshittification of all of the way that all these platforms are changing our lives just when we get addicted. It feels dirty. It feels gross.
I mean, yeah, it happened with all the like gig apps like DoorDash, Postmates, Uber, where they got you in with like low prices and then legislated their employees to not be employees and charge you like quadruple. It's just like, it has to be buoyed by VC money and they never turn a profit and you get stuck with the shit end of the bill.
It's really gross. And I just wish that people would run better businesses. That sounds ridiculous, but
could be cool. Could be cool.
Just like, do a little profit and loss there. It's just a little easier than like blowing billions of dollars for the first 10 years of a business life and then being like, fuck you consumers, now you all have to pay. I don't know, I think that's bad. Speaking of running businesses dirty, we have an Inside Games Patreon, and these patrons support our Patreon the dirtiest possible way. We got them addicted, and now they gotta pay. Evan S. Compton, Knockgack, Alex Stone, and Mason Hoover. That's a joke, guys. I'm kidding around.
No, he's kidding, but I'm not. We gave him a sweet taste of our Inside Games memes, and they just couldn't get enough, and now they're hooked. They gotta pay. Talia Monochrome, Ray Pichardo, Ricardo Lopez, and Mark Fletcher, thank you very much.